to the bridge. So it has to be something I don't want to rendering. Oh, yeah, that's a good. Yes. I'll take that outside, it'll be too. Oh, that doesn't. Oh, yeah. Oh, we should turn off.
And what do you YouTube? And now we can take it down to the.
But it's, so it's streaming. So we should be on mute and camera off, I think.
Well, come on.
Just. I'm eating.
Maxwell. So will we start to see this live, the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party from now on?
Say it again.
So I just noticed that on the screen it says live, the content of this meeting is being sent to a third party. So from now on, we will start seeing this message box?
It's on YouTube.
It's
'cause we
on
just went to
YouTube now.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
So I think, so Carla, that means we need to just do conversation in a different way, because everything we're talking about now is on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So I guess we should do Teams on the side. Or can we not be streaming quite
On
yet
YouTube.
until we get
Okay.
set up? Well, what else do we have to do? Yeah.
Just that. Then I
think we're-
think
okay.
that once we start the meeting, then we just do the recording on the actual meeting here via Zoom, but yeah.
So we're fine, but do we need to test that if Carla goes off? Oh, yeah, but can
we
make
stop the
Melissa host?
streaming? Or pause it or whatever?
No, don't end meeting, but the streaming itself. Can it be paused for a second? It's just we have a few setup things. Lydia can join because they want to make her a host too, right? I don't think she has to be a host to share to record it. Oh, if she's the one recording, she does.
Olivia.
She'll probably join.
What's her last name?
She may not be joining though.
Yeah, she probably isn't joining until later. If I ask her to join. I don't. I mean, the main thing is just making sure Carla can get off and not, it
Okay.
doesn't end the meeting.
Now it's streaming, but since I have sent out video arrowhead to them to Chris, it has to be posted, so nobody is.
Oh, okay. So we just need to send the link to Chris
Yes.
when we're ready.
When you are ready,
Perfect.
they are sending it.
Okay.
Right now, nobody is watching it, so if you don't want whatever session to enter, I can edit it to whenever you want it to start.
I mean, this is just extra talk, but I think the thing we want to test is to make sure Carla can get off. And because someone else is host, it doesn't end the meeting.
So who's host right now?
I think
Yeah, you
this
can take
computer
my
is.
host, you can take it, give it to somebody else.
Do you want to try to make Melissa host?
Well, I mean, it can be,
It can be co-host.
but we can leave it. I think we just need to test that Carla can,
Okay.
like Carla, could you log off and see if everything is okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because somebody else is this one. is
Somebody's gonna
host.
admit Linda.
We can.
Okay. Bye. Good luck.
Thank
Bye.
Text
you.
me, Cheryl, if something goes wrong.
I'll chat you.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still going. We're still going. Yeah, and so this computer now will just move the host over to whoever else we want. Okay, I think we're good. We'll just go on mute and close the camera,
Okay.
so we're not streaming. Coordinated. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the ERC meeting today. Can folks hear me okay? Try to look at the camera, not at the screen. Okay, welcome to the ERC Advisory Board meeting. Let's get started. I'll do a quick attendance call. And quick reminder to the board members, if you'll keep your camera on throughout the meeting. Make sure you're counted as present. All right, do attendance call. Rayon. See you, but I don't. Rayon, can you hear us? Megan? Jacqueline?
Here.
Linda?
Here.
Angie?
Here.
Holly?
Here.
Kathy? Here, could you say that again, Kathy? Here. There, thank you. Celeste?
Here.
Eugene? Here. Go back to Rayon.
Here, sorry, I wasn't.
Yay.
I couldn't hear you.
Great, thanks. And Megan? All right, we do have a quorum, so we will move on. Next item on the agenda is public testimony. We don't have anyone registered. We'll move on to the next. Consideration and possible action to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was February 20th, 2025. Do I have a motion to approve the February 20th meeting minutes?
I move to approve. Celeste.
I second, Kathy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's great, thank you. Next is consideration and possible action to approve the consent calendar. And so on our agenda, the extensions highlighted in gray are currently on the consent calendar. But any board member can request to have any of these removed from the consent calendar to discuss. Anyone have any that they would like to move? Right, well, if not, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar, which includes extensions 3 through 7, extensions 10 through 12, extensions 16 through 21.
This is Holly, I motion to approve.
This is Jackie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Megan, I see you. I'm gonna mark you here.
Yes, sorry about that. Thank you.
No problem. Good to see you. All right, next is consideration and possible action to approve additional data and amendment requests. So we will start with data 1 UH 051. Any questions or comments from the board? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Holly. Oh, this is Holly, I motion to approve.
This is Angie, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Right, data 2 UH 56. Questions or comments on this?
I actually had a question on the it's a 0C8. That's a faculty report. Is that what they're wanting? Because it says class report.
Hi, we don't want the faculty report, we want the class report.
Well, I think it was because the 3 or the 4 for universities was replaced by C8, the C8. So it's a faculty report, but it also gives the information about the classes,
Okay,
like is it the 3 or the 4 that was discontinued? Yeah, I can't remember which one. I'm sorry, I'm not looking.
It's
The
4.
Oh, yeah, 4.
Yeah.
So the C8 was one of the things that replaced it. So that information
Okay.
can help
Okay.
get to the same information that was on the 4, technically, even though it is a faculty report.
Thank you.
It's data too. And the CS also, but that is also requested on there, so those two. Any other questions? or comments? Motion to approve?
Move to approve Celeste.
This is Jackie, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Data 3, UH95. Questions or comments on this one? I have a note here that the years aren't listed for the TWC data.
I didn't include it in table. I think I asked for the year 2003 to 2024.
Okay, I think let's amend it and add the years to the table.
Right, thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions, comments? Right, then do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add dates to the TWC data request?
Holly, I motion to approve with that amendment.
This is Rayan, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks. Okay, data 4. UTD 137. Questions or comments? If not, their motion to approve.
This is Kathy Ender to approve.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, data 5, UTD 154. Questions, comments about this one? Oh, this one we had a note. We wondered if the CBM OC8 would also be useful. It's the faculty report with the census date.
Yes. Okay, so I can add that to the data request.
Do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the request for the CBM OC8?
Okay.
Move to approve Celeste.
Jackie, a second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Right, data 6 UTD 168. Questions or comments on this? None, is there a motion to approve?
This is Megan. A motion to approve. I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Data 7, UTD 175. Questions or comments? Not. Motion to approve.
This is Holly. Oh, go ahead.
I move to approve.
This is Holly. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Data 8, UTD 176. Questions or comments on this one? If not, is there a motion to approve?
This is Kathy. I move to approve.
This is Jackie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Data 9, UTD 188. Questions or comments? If not, is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve Celeste.
This is Rayan. I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Data 10, UTD 214. Questions or comments from the board? If not, is there a motion to approve?
This is Holly. I
move
move to approve.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, data 11, UTD 216. Questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Kathy. I move to approve. This is Rayan. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. UTA 231. Questions or comments? This one. This one, I think we wanted to ask, clarify, as a researcher asking for all grades for the star data.
Yes. Yes.
Are they all listed? Not in their proposal. Specified. Okay, yeah. So I think we're gonna ask to, if you could amend it to add the specific data
Yes.
files.
Oh, okay.
Star, because there's several different ones that specify like grade and type of test, so I think just ask that you.
Okay,
that.
so clarify the type of test and the grade that we're requesting.
The data file, the specific data files.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's nothing else, do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the data set names for the testing?
I'll move to approve Celeste.
I second. Kathy.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
Right, item 6, consideration of possible action to approve additional data requests and extension requests. So on this one, we have data 13 and extension 1, UTD 170. Have any questions or comments for the board on this one? Oh, this is the one where there was a mismatch. Okay, just wanted to call out a mismatch between the word form and the table, the dates of which one, the Texas C NSC. On the table, it says 2008, but we only have those starting in 2009. In the extension form, it's correct, but. Or is that, no, in both, they say 2008.
No. Extension.
Okay.
No, incorrect. Justification.
In the justification, okay, yeah, it's minor, just wanna make sure the dates are correct.
So, sorry, Melissa, is it just a matter of changing the start date for the NSC files from 2008 to 2009?
Correct, just that one file, right? It's
Okay.
the Texas C NSC. That
Yeah.
data available starting in 09.
Okay.
Yeah, just,
Okay, thank you.
we're really into documentation.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, any other questions or comments? Then do I have a motion to approve with the amendment of the date change?
This is Megan. I'll motion to approve with the.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yes. Data 14 and extension 2, GTA 194. Questions or comments for on this one? And if not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Rayan. I move to approve.
I second, Eugene.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now we'll move on to item 7, consideration and possible action to approve extension requests, and this is only the extension requests that were not already approved on a consent calendar. So the first one is extension 8, UTD 161. The questions or comments on this one? And if not, does someone want to move to approve?
This is Kathy. I move to approve.
This is Angie. I'll second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Extension 9, UTD 162. Questions or comments on this one? If not, do you have a motion to approve?
I move to approve Celeste.
This is Rayan. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Extension 13, UTA 133. Questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion?
This is Kathy. I move to approve.
This is Jackie, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. All right, extension 14, UTA 134. Questions or comments on this one? Not, do I have a motion to approve?
To approve, Celeste.
A second, Holly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, extension 15, UTA 143. Questions or comments from the board? And if not, is there a motion to approve?
This is Angie. I'll move to approve.
This is Megan. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, now on to the fun part. New research. Not that. The other research isn't fun. This, the approval isn't as engaging because we've already approved your proposal. All right, item 8, consideration and possible action to approve new research projects. So we will start with proposal 1, including remote access requests, UH 104, quality of early childhood education, children's social emotional development, and children's long-term behavioral and academic outcomes in school. A study of the United Way Greater Houston Bright Beginnings Early Care Program. Do we have a researcher here to talk to us about this?
Hi, this is
Hi.
Catherine Butita. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, great. Hi. So yeah, we're excited to be here today. Thank you for inviting us and considering our proposal. My name is Catherine Butita. I'm a research and evaluation lead at the Brazelton Touchpoint Center at Boston Children's Hospital. I'm here with my colleague Angelica Alonso and our partner Shauna Harris, who's the Senior Director of Early Childhood Initiatives at the United Way of Greater Houston. For the past 6 years, we've partnered with United Way's Bright Beginnings program, which is an innovative early education initiative in Houston that was established in 2002. Our proposed research project seeks to connect indicators of quality in Houston Bright Beginnings programs with children's school readiness outcomes and children's long-term school trajectories and outcomes. To date, we've collected Bright Beginnings school-aged children's information from one school district, and we have seen some promising findings, such that children in Bright Beginnings tend to outperform their peers in STAR tests and demonstrate more positive school behaviors, including higher school attendance and lower suspension rates. However, Bright Beginnings children attend public school in a number of school districts across Greater Houston, and we've only been able to access information from one district that serves at most 11% of those students. So our team really aims to extend and expand this work by collecting school outcome data from a larger and more representative sample of Bright Beginnings children. And the University of Houston ERC is an excellent data system that would provide access to a much larger sample of children than we have been able to reach to date. The implementation of high-quality, evidence-based early care in Texas will have long-lasting social, emotional, and academic impacts on Texas children. Taking advantage of the data system available through the University of Houston ERC is imperative to developing the evidence for high-quality childcare in Texas and associations with school outcomes. Our findings will also inform current policy related to the requirements and standards needed to ensure that Texas children are ready for kindergarten and beyond, and that all children, especially those facing economic disadvantage and other related adversities, are ready to succeed when they enter school. The Bright Beginnings model stands out as a leading example of quality implementation in the state, offering valuable insights for shaping future policy and practice. Its approach sets a high standard for early education programs, serving as a benchmark for what can best support children and families. We have included a supplemental data request as part of our proposal. Our evaluation team holds a longitudinal data set that includes Bright Beginnings family and child characteristics, structural and process quality indicators of programs, and children's social, emotional, and school readiness skills. Information is added to this data set annually, as all measures are collected as part of the annual evaluation of Bright Beginnings. This longitudinal data set will need to be connected to the UH ERC student data to assess associations between Bright Beginnings program, family, and child outcomes and school-age children's outcomes. So thank you for your time. We welcome any questions you may have about our proposed project.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any questions or comments for the researcher?
I just wanted to indicate that the early childhood data doesn't begin until 2019. I think you had it down at 2010. Just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Yes.
And then, you know, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but their teacher names and coach names in the supplemental data. I don't think that will be allowed.
Yes. Yeah, because those aren't being matched to teacher data. It's just an attribute of the student. Sorry. So yeah, we would be able to include teacher name. Is that something you need, or would it just be an indicator for class or indicator for having the same teacher?
So in our request, the only information that we are asking to connect would be children. We will have children's last names and their date of birth to connect to their student outcomes. The information that was included in the table in the supplemental data request, that's information that we have in our own data set, in the longitudinal data set from the Bright Beginnings program. So not something that we would be connecting to the data set. Sorry if I'm not understanding the question, just, yes.
So what is it just, so ultimately, is it just an indicator that the student is included in this group that you are looking for in the final data set, just a match and a flag for they're included?
So we would want to connect a longitudinal data set that we hold already that has information about children that we're collecting through an annual evaluation of their Bright Beginnings program. So that includes family information and child information within their program, and we would be connecting children based just on their last name and date of birth to where they end up in their school district, and to connect them to the school data that we're requesting from the ERC.
I think we're
so
just
it's
trying
essentially
to
looking
exactly what data you are requesting to merge with the ERC data.
And I think, Catherine, the questions are coming as a function of the fact that you can't bring in identifiable information, for example, a teacher's name, a coach's name, and link that with an unidentified student, right? So all of it has to be, anything that would be linked to a flag also has to be de-identified.
I see. Okay, so no identifiable data in our data set would be allowed to be linked to the student data, is what I'm hearing.
Not at the individual level. Like if there was a school or a, certain demographic attributes would be brought in, but no, they're not at the person level.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, so that sort of would, of course, change our request in terms of how, because the idea, right, was to connect that information about students to their outcomes in school. So with identified data was our request. And so we would probably have to think about how to do this in a different way, because really we wouldn't be able to connect any individual indicators of children. It would have to be like you said, Kathy, at like the program level versus the individual student level.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? If I know we've had discussions around supplemental data, but my understanding was that so long as, you know, children's name, birth date, if all of that was just used for the purposes of merging and those variables were dropped in the final data set, you could bring in those individual characteristics that you have in your supplemental data. It's not like
Just not teacher name or coach name.
right.
Those are identifying pieces of information, but that's why we're trying to be clear about what you need in this linked data set out of what you.
Yeah, so I guess it might be helpful, Catherine, to think about variables from your supplemental data into two categories. Ones that will be used exclusively for the purposes of merging, and the other set would be data that you would want to include for your analysis. Is that helpful? So you don't have to get rid of like, you know, information about participants in the early childhood program for your project. Is that helpful?
Yes, understood.
Yeah,
Yes.
things like your the date of entry and exit, that's fine, because that's not personally identifiable information. But a name, a teacher name or a coach's name is personally identifiable information. And yes, you can flag your students, and that's what the first name, last name, date of birth would do, is being able to flag the students that participate.
Mm-hmm. Right. So just to be clear about the coach. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I guess I just want to ask a clarifying question. So as an example, if instead of specific name, like if there was a de-identified indicator for a teacher, you know, and this would have to be in sort of the space of a researcher understanding what that ID, who that ID attached to is disassociated with the analysis of the work in the ERC. So ensuring that there wasn't that ability to link back. But if there was a de-identified, just simply to be able to say all of these folks had the same teacher with these characteristics, and all of these folks had a different same teacher. So I guess I'm openly wondering if that's a possibility, again, with the very clear recognition, Catherine, that there's the expectation that there's not a path back to linking. So in cases where like it would really have to be a firewall of analysis between who's setting up that, if that's a possibility, who's setting that up, and then who's engaging more.
Understood. Yeah. And I mean, we could certainly do that. And I was going to mention too that, for example, for the coach, again, that could be kind of like that's a program level variable. There's far more programs than there are coaches. So coaches kind of go to one or more programs. And so that's also like a program level variable, not an individual level variable. So we could certainly remove names and do just as you suggested, Kathy, to have numerical indicators and protect not be able to track that back to individual students.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Just ask if there are questions or comments, and if there aren't any, does someone want to move to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Holly and I will arm us all. Since my mouth is already moving. I'll move to approve. I don't think we actually, I just moved to approve.
I second.
Favor,
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Proposal 2, including remote access request UH 105, evaluating the ongoing impact of Connect Community's efforts on outcomes for my students. Someone here to talk to us about this?
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Elliot Whitney, and I'm here to share with you all. Good afternoon first, and thank you all for the opportunity to share our proposal today. I'm a researcher working with Connect Community. We're a nonprofit that operates in Houston. We're a place-based organization that works in the Gulfton and Sharpstown communities in Houston. We work across a network of schools and partners, and our ultimate goal is to strengthen the conditions for students and families to flourish, especially in the case of this proposal, newcomer students. As outlined in our proposal, this focuses specifically on newcomer students, which is a population, many of whom attend school in these communities, and they face barriers, including language, academic background, and school engagement. Connect Community plays a dual role of convener and catalyst. We coordinate sort of cross-sector supports across multiple schools. Examples include translation services, tutoring, and attendance-focused interventions. And this study will help us evaluate the impact of those supports, specifically in 3 key areas. One is around academic outcomes, such as reading growth, graduation rates, post-secondary enrollment, et cetera. The second is attendance patterns. And the third is both long-term post-secondary success and ultimately economic mobility. We are requesting access to ERC's integrated data sets, TEA, Coordinating Board, NSC, and the workforce, so that we can conduct some longitudinal analysis to help us make better decisions and learn more that can be relevant both within our context as well as across the state. Our findings, we believe, will inform policy that could help with TEA's existing priorities, including support for emergent bilingual kids, college and career readiness, and reducing chronic absenteeism. This particular study also offers insight into how community-led efforts and place-based strategies could be scaled or adapted in other Texas communities. If supplemental data access isn't approved, we can certainly still address the first 2 of our research questions, just with less sophistication and granularity, given that there can be many confounding variables. The more student-specific we can be, the easier it'll be for us to look at control groups, et cetera. But thank you again for your time and consideration, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? The researcher?
I have a few comments of the data table that you included. Just reading the file name and justification, I mean, a few of the justification were mismatched. So I just wanted to point out that you may need to request OC1 since you only have 001 on your data file right now. So OC1 for universities, ICOT, well, you have the CTCs here, so only universities in ICOT. And then for CV and OC1 file for CTCs, your justification was that this file is needed for assessing degree completion rate. So you'll find that from 009, not from OC1. So I think you will have to request 009 for CTCs as well.
Thank you.
And I would add to that, you need the graduation file because you're looking at graduation and it would have grad type and endorsements and military, things like that that you'd probably be interested in. And then additionally, I'm thinking you might want the CBM 002. And that's the Texas Success Initiative, and possibly the OOB for it, what is it, 4-year admissions.
Thank you.
The other data recommendation would be not to end it at 2025 in case the study goes on another year. Like just current or most recent, something like that.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Would you need CS file? Looking at the justification, you put it's to assess post-secondary enrollment trend, and that will be enrollment is C1, not CS. So I wonder if you want to remove CS.
Eugene, I think that's right. I think that's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, I had C1 also on my list.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Well, if there are no other questions or comments, let's put together a motion. Do I have a motion to approve with the following amendments to the data table? Remove request for OCS, CBM OCS. Add request for CBM OC1 for universities and ICUT. Add request for CBM 009 for public 2 years. Add request for high school grad file. Add request for CBM 002. All institution types.
It was also CBM OOB.
And okay, add CBM 00B. And change the date request in date from 2025 to most recent available. Yeah, motion for that.
I motion to approve with the stated amendment.
Megan, I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, proposal 3, including remote access request UH 106, Houston CNI education strategy.
This is me. Sorry, I'm stepping in. I'm stepping in. This proposal is focused on, sorry, let me get organized. I don't usually do this part. This proposal is an analysis of work affiliated with a CUNY Homes, Third Ward CUNY Homes Choice Neighborhood Initiative. This is a initiative being funded by HUD and is intended to cut across multiple dimensions of community development. This particular proposal focused specifically on the people side, the education and related outcomes. It's seeking to understand the results of or the impacts of a comprehensive community-based intervention on academic outcomes, including the indications of kindergarten readiness, academic performance, chronic absenteeism, and graduation at the high school level, and promotion or retention in advance of that. The request is to have a flag that identifies participants in these interventions. So that would come in the form of a supplemental data request with a modest set of additional variables linked into that flag, as was indicated in the survey that was part of the packet of submission. The goal is to understand and inform curriculum development and related policy that attends to the idea, similar to what you just heard, that there is opportunity in place-based intervention to be in information of the ways in which the educational sector is engaging successfully with students. I will stop there and answer questions.
Questions or comments from the board?
First of all, good job, Kathy.
Woo! Sorry.
Yeah, I was reading the proposal and the future tense was used a lot. So I was wondering if the intervention's already being implemented.
It's in, let me answer briefly, and let me also acknowledge Taronda Winters, who's on this call, who is the substantive lead of the intervention itself. I will say it's in, please correct me, Taronda, if you would describe differently. I would say it's in development and early execution. Taronda, would you like to add anything additional? Oh, I got hearts. I take that as a yes.
Okay.
She's also in a low Wi-Fi access space. So
got it.
Yeah, this is early early in the process, Holly.
Okay.
Kathy, about the supplemental data, on our note, it says that all information may be collected in 6-month intervals. So does that mean the data is collected every 6 months? Or maybe we're just curious if you'll or the researchers will be sending us supplemental data every 6 months, or
I think that the likely so the participants in the intervention will be identified early and stay consistent with modest changes because of attrition or movement in and out of the community. I think it's a good conversation with TEA to understand the cycle of provision of these supplemental pieces of information. The core part of this work really centers on understanding those who are participating in the intervention, their educational outcomes. So the ERC is really most important to be able to track those performance indicators. The supplemental data is relevant but secondary to that core reporting work, and so I think that there's an openness to discussion about how that additional information flows in to be minimally disruptive to TEA's ability to link in that information attached to flagged participants.
While we're on the subject of supplemental, it looks like there's several types of supplemental, including even, I think, at the individual level education data with parent permission to be added. along with that survey, along with, I think it said something like updates on student, I guess, advancement maybe.
So the information, and this may be partially a function of this aspect of the work is embedded within a larger comprehensive study that's or intervention and study, the related study that's happening, that's not within the purview of this specific proposed study. Celeste, the question, and if this is not clear, I'm glad to help make it clear in the proposal. The linked data that are of interest are really represented in that survey that was included. And if the proposal is ambiguous and suggesting additional information, we can clean that up to be specific about the information in that 3-page questionnaire.
Okay. It was just on page 11 under the supplemental data description.
Yeah, I didn't make a note.
And the other thing is, you know, it indicates that you're following them even from birth on. I would recommend requesting that early childhood data then too.
A good suggestion. Thank you.
And also special education. And if you're going to be linking teachers to students, I don't know. It mentioned that.
Yeah, that's not a priority of the study. So I think it really is centered on students nested within school outcomes. So less focus of students nested within classrooms than schools.
Okay.
We're trying not to be data greedy. We're being data judicious in this request.
The other questions or comments? Sorry, I'm reading this. I'll be rereading the section on page 11. Any other questions or comments on the board? I'm reading that section on page 11. I want to hear from other board members. We can make it part of the amendment to make that section more clear that the only piece of supplemental data being requested to be linked is the questionnaire. But hear from other board members if that sounds appropriate. Think of you. So
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
And I just want to confirm that, Kathy. That's really, I don't want to take anything out that needs to be in there, but great. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve with the following amendments? Clarifying in the proposal that the only supplemental data request is for items on the questionnaire. Also to add to the data request table, early childhood education data and special ed data. Motion for that.
A motion to approve with the stated amendments.
I'll second Celeste.
Right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
I note I abstained. And
Everyone note. Yes, noted.
thank you.
All right, proposal 4, including remote access request UH 107, students in disciplinary alternative schools. Do you have a researcher here to talk about this one?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, welcome.
Fantastic.
I'm Maria Gianni. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for hearing all the proposals. I am currently a third year PhD student at the University of Florida. And so my interest is in investigating, as the title says, disciplinary alternative education programs in Texas and examining a variety of questions, including looking at how student and school characteristics explain subgroup difference in placement for students, to what extent they recidivate to these schools after attending it at least one time, how their outcome trajectories shift after attending these programs, as well as to what extent attending these schools impacts attaining a regular four-year high school diploma. And so my interest is in examining students in 6th through 12th grades using the data set, including data on not only the alternative schools, but also the public schools to have a further, more robust set of characteristics to examine for these students. And the methods would include not only regression, but also a variety of causal inference methods, such as propensity score matching or difference in difference to examine the student outcomes. Eventually, the goal would be to inform not only policy, but also hopefully and potentially intervention. Disciplinary alternative schools are a very expensive endeavor. They impact many students, many teachers, many administrators, and the information on them is very limited. I am currently wrapping up a national study using longitudinal national data, and it is slim pickings with the data out there. And so with state-based data, hopefully we have a more robust set of information to better inform our decisions for these students and schools. It's a very short description of the study, but if anyone has any questions, I am more than happy to respond and clarify.
Great, thank you. Are there questions or comments from the board?
I know nothing about this subject, but I'm just wondering, like, how many alternative schools like the one that you describe in your proposal exist in Texas?
I have the number somewhere. I don't have it in front of me right now. From what I recall, it is many.
Okay.
I don't have the number off the top of my head, so I apologize, and I don't have it in front of me. To
No,
my
I was just curious.
To my
Yeah.
understanding, every district has at least one.
Oh.
I don't remember off the top of my head. I have number one of my many files. Texas is one of the 5 states with the top amount of disciplinary alternative public schools.
Thank you.
Of course. Yeah, it's not a subject a lot of people know about, and so I understand.
I think that sort of answers the question I had, because I was wondering about the sample size, the possibility of getting into small cells, but I'm hearing that if it's in every district, then they'll probably working with the large sample.
Yes,
Yeah.
and again, I apologize for not having the number in front of me. But when I last looked into it, it was a decent enough sample size to be able to not have issues with small sample sizes, as tends to be the issue with causal inference. We do want to avoid smaller samples. But from what I recall looking at, it was a decent enough sample.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, and I also know that some of the smaller districts, rural, they may share, I believe, some of these. But there's a fair amount. I think the end should be good.
Yeah, that's the hope, and that's what I had examined when I looked into it. And also too, since it's panel data looking across several years longitudinally, that also like surmounts in the number of students being examined, especially with 6th through 12th grade.
Your study wouldn't require supplemental data, correct? You'll just use the school codes. And then-
Correct. Yes, just everything that I submitted, so no supplemental data.
Gotcha.
Are there questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Holly. I motion to approve.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being here. Right. Proposal 5, including remote access requests, UH 108, examining the impact of UTEP's minor teacher residency on teacher preparation and student outcomes.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I was doing classroom observations on the rural part of El Paso, and I just decided to stay over here on this side, so my network might be a little strange. So let me know if you can hear me. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about this project. My name is Dr. Angelica Monares. I am a program evaluator at the Research Evaluation and Assessment Services, which is a unit here at UT El Paso. And I've been working with people from College of Education on this project. And our project is, we'll examine the impacts of our region effort to strengthen and diversify the teacher pipeline through the design and the implementation of partnership-based residency. UTEP implemented the teacher residency program in 2019, which is a full paid residency for the teacher preparation program. And so we have been working with a lot of different data, local data, and as well as anecdotal data. So we know teachers that have graduated from our program, they're getting higher. So one of the main questions that we have been getting from different partners, including the districts, is student outcomes. So they want to see how youth and minor teacher residency students, teachers, are doing compared to teachers that have graduated from other pathways, including traditional student teaching, alternative certification, and uncertified in this region. We think it's important to highlight how this program has been affecting students. We already know that teachers are getting higher at a really high pace, and as well as trying to understand the student outcomes on residency prepared teachers. We would also like to know and compare this intervention before it was implemented at UTEP and after it was implemented. That's what we're asking for data, including 2014 to 2024. I welcome any questions. Again, thank you for your opportunity.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from board?
Is this program ongoing? Is it still?
Yes, it is happening. So it started 2019, and now like as a pilot, and now it started in 2024. It has been fully implemented to all the pre-service teachers that happen through UTEP.
Right. I'm excited about this. I would go ahead and change your end date to current, so that, because you're listing 2024 and we're in 2025 now. It'd be nice if you could go on another year or two.
Okay, perfect. So I just put it as current, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments, board? Interested to see the results. So do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to change the data request date to most recent available?
I move to approve, Celeste.
Second, Holly.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Here today. All right, proposal 6, including remote access requests, UTD 3, investigating variation and impacts of Texas students' art access. Give someone to talk to us about this.
Hello, I'm here. I'm Dan Bowen, Associate Professor at Texas A&M in the K-12 Education Leadership and Policy program. And I'm working on this project with my PhD student, Gary Frankel, who's on the call, as well as Brian Casita, who's an associate professor in the Truman School of Government Affairs at the University of Missouri. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So this project is inspired by the notion that there are lots of concerns pertaining to the decline and disparities in K-12 arts educational opportunities and what this might mean for student outcomes, but there really isn't a whole lot of research in the area. We've done some research to date, but it's entirely been confined to data from a single district or a single time period. More recently, we've done some work in Texas with the Texas Cultural Trust, just looking at variations throughout the state, but it was only in one particular year. We found some interesting stuff, but we thought it would be really worth expanding on that to looking at things over time. So we're wanting to look at making contributions to look at a more comprehensive set of analyses, looking at variations in arts access and engagement over time for the entire state, as well as seeing whether access and engagement is associated with various student outcomes. And in terms of arts access and engagement, we're primarily talking about arts courses that are available to students, which ones they're taking, as well as who's instructing those courses in terms of whether or not those teachers are certified and or specialized, meaning that their primary focus is in instructing arts. As part of this investigation, we're also planning on looking at a longer-term impacts on student outcomes from students who participated in a school-level randomized control trial that happened in Houston back in 2015-16 and 2016-17. And so ultimately from this project, we're hoping to contribute to what we know about access and impacts from arts learning, which we think will have meaningful policy implications regarding how we might assess and consider the ongoing declines and disparities in these opportunities. So we're happy to address any questions and thank you so much for any feedback you're able to provide.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I think just one question I had was, I know it sounds like it's a pretty low cost. And so currently it's in just the Houston area. Is that right?
Just for that one particular analysis where we're looking at the longer term impacts of the randomized control trial that took place about 10 years ago. In terms of looking at access to teachers and course enrollments and stuff like that, we're looking at the entire state.
Okay, but this program could spread throughout the whole state, is what you're saying?
No, so the program that existed in Houston actually doesn't exist anymore. That only existed for a handful of years, but we just want to take advantage of the fact that they randomly were assigning arts learning opportunities to students and now seeing what the longer term impacts were on those students.
So is the goal to actually have other schools try this out later?
Not necessarily. I mean, we think that, you know, looking at the longer term impacts might motivate or incentivize schools and districts to rethink what they're providing in terms of arts learning. But in terms of being like program specific, we're not looking to expand that particular program that at one point existed.
Okay, thank you.
In your workforce outcomes, are you looking agnostic to the industry area of the employment? Are you looking at alignment of experiences of art experiences and art related fields? I'm just curious about how you're thinking about workforce. Maybe is a more generalized question.
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty agnostic. We're kind of more just interested in whether or not those individuals tend to be sorting themselves into different sectors relative to those who are less engaged in arts learning.
And is there any wondering that the causal arrow points the other way, right? That the limited access to arts education opportunities also as a sorting function?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, yeah, so this would strictly be correlational, at least in terms of when we're looking at the broader state stuff, but we just don't know a whole lot in this area. Like not a lot of folks are doing research in the space. So anything that we're finding, even if it's just merely correlational, we think would be helpful to the field.
Agreed, totally.
Any other questions or comments? There aren't any, do I have a motion to approve?
Kathy, I'll move to approve.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being here today.
Right. Thank you all so much.
Moving on to proposal 7, including remote access requests UTD 224, explaining gender differences in educational specialization and career outcomes. I'm here to talk to us about this. Okay. Hi.
Thank you guys so much for this opportunity. My name is Mira Chaskis, and I'm a researcher at Policy Impacts, a group in the economics department at MIT. I'm interested in broadly understanding what drives gender gaps in educational and career outcomes. In this project in particular, I'm specifically curious to examine the role that public single-sex schools play in shaping boys' and girls' trajectories. So people often associate all girls or all boys schools with private schools or religious schools, but since 2004, 27 public single-sex schools have opened in Texas, and these are specifically concentrated and have already spread to some of the largest metropolitan areas in Texas. There continues to be interest in opening new single-sex schools, and all-girls charter school was approved by the state as recently as this past summer to open this upcoming school year. And so there's lots of interest that I think requires some evaluation of the outcomes that these schools are having. So when these schools open, they often attract students and families with the claim of removing barriers and nurturing students to help them follow a path that is less common for their gender. So one example of this is encouraging more girls to enter STEM fields. On the all-boys school side, this often sort of looks like emphasizing creating a less competitive school environment, encouraging boys to engage more in collaboration and creativity. But there's very little research evaluating single-sex education in the public school setting. My project will evaluate whether single-sex schools effectively impact students' educational and employment outcomes, and specifically whether it leads them to fields of study or industries of employment that are uncommon for their gender. My project will evaluate this effect on two populations. One, the students who actually attend these single-sex schools, as well as a sort of broader population of students attending nearby schools who have the potential to be impacted by indirect effects from the entrance of a new single-sex school in their community. I think this approach is especially important when districts are considering sort of copying this model and implementing new single-sex schools, as it is possible that the entrance of a new single-sex school will have ripple effects on a much larger set of students than just the ones who attend. So the ERC's longitudinal data will inform whether single-sex schools are an effective tool to alter students' long-term trajectories, or whether other policy interventions added to existing coeducational schools are needed to address the specific challenges that boys and girls face. So thank you guys so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
I had one comment. There was a study back in 2019 at the UT ERC by James Postiovsky on girls I guess it was all girls secondary schools is what he looked at. So I just didn't know because we have a policy brief on our website if you were interested.
Yeah, so I've totally looked at that study and I cite it in my proposal. My work will expand on that in a few ways. So one, my work will include many like all boys schools that have also sort of copied this model that was brought up by the all girls school, as well as it's expanded beyond secondary schools. So there's, it's mostly secondary schools, but there are a few like primary and middle schools in the state as well that are single sex, and his work doesn't look at that. I also believe the sort of farthest outcome he looks at is like enrollment in higher education.
Higher ed.
Yeah, and I'm curious to look at later on outcomes, like what do they choose to study, how successful are they at graduating, and then those workforce outcomes as well. So very much influenced by his work, but have some as well as the spillover effects contribution, looking not just at students who attend, but broader community
Okay,
effects.
I think it's interesting. The only other question is, are you going to be linking the students to the teachers?
That is not like a super high priority for my analysis, but I think more broadly thinking about what leads to these gender gaps in education, it could be an analysis I'd look at some point.
You would need one more file than what you have.
Okay.
It's called P Student Class Enroll. So that would be the only one.
Got it. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Questions or comments? And is that data you would like to add?
Yeah, that was my question too, Mira. Do you want to add that file right now, or do you want to wait and see, after you do your analysis, is this something that would benefit your study?
If possible, it would be great to add it right now, but it's not necessary.
Then do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the request for P student class enroll?
This is Rayan. I move to approve.
This is Holly, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being here today. Okay, proposal 8, including remote access request, UTD 225, outside opportunities and teacher attrition. Talk about this project.
Hi, so thank you very much for taking the time to consider my proposal. My name is Clara Kyung, and I'm a PhD student in economics at the University of Chicago. And the project I'm proposing today is called Outside Opportunities and Teacher Attrition. So the motivation for this project begins with the fact that teacher attrition has been a very relevant policy issue in Texas and also in other states for several years. And teacher attrition can cause problems because it leads to teacher turnover and also shortages, which in turn can disrupt student learning. And just to be clear, when I say teacher attrition here, I'm referring to when a teacher leaves their public school teaching job. So one of the factors that has long been hypothesized to contribute to teacher attrition, particularly in STEM subjects, are the potential non-teaching job opportunities, which I'm calling outside opportunities, that are available to a teacher. And despite researchers and policymakers recognizing this as an important factor, there isn't much convincing quantitative evidence on the relationship between outside opportunities and teacher attrition. So in this project, I seek to shed light on this relationship. First, as a descriptive exercise, I will document the outside opportunities of teachers, focusing specifically on wages in 2 ways. So first, I'll compare the wages of recent college graduates who became teachers versus those who did not. And second, for public school teachers who actually end up leaving their jobs, by comparing teaching wages and post-teaching wages. And this second comparison is possible only because of the linkage between the PM's staff data and the TWC data in the ERC. And the goal of this exercise is just to get a sense of what public school teachers could earn in a different job. Second, I will estimate the effect of outside opportunities on teacher attrition. So I'll first take an approach that is similar to what has been done in previous research, in which I assign a non-teaching wage for every teacher and see how non-teaching wages correlate with leaving the public school teaching profession. And I'll also take a second, more novel approach in which I plan to use oil price fluctuations to isolate variation in teachers' outside opportunities. Third, I will also examine the characteristics of teachers who leave the profession due to better outside opportunities. And finally, I will quantify the extent to which outside opportunities contribute to teacher shortages across subject areas. And here I plan to measure teacher shortages in a few different ways. One way would be the share of uncertified teachers or the share of teachers who are teaching outside of their field. So by shedding light on the relationship between outside opportunities and teacher attrition, I hope that the findings of this project will inform policymakers on the extent to which policies related to teacher compensation might be effective in reducing teacher attrition in Texas. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, I didn't see a specific FERPA statement. There was a benefit to Texas section, but not a specific FERPA statement.
Oh, okay. I think you are right that I may have forgotten to add that.
We can add that,
Okay.
pretty quickly after the meeting if it's
Okay.
missing. Thank you for noting that, Angie.
Oh, no
Yeah,
problem.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the researcher?
Just a quick comment. Oh, sorry. I don't know why I turned, sorry. I'm a mess. Not on purpose. There's how you might consider, I'm excited about this work, how you might consider fiscally based interventions like teacher incentive allotment, interventions that are going to have some implication on financial outcomes for teachers, even as a control. I would say just there's other policies sitting around what you're looking at directly that might be worthwhile to attend to in some way, or at least consider as you're interpreting findings that has come in this big swath of time frame that you're looking at. So
Okay.
that's
Thank
just
you.
my generalized encouragement to think about how the complexity of this ecosystem as it's changed and has been tied to dollars may show up in the findings of your analyses.
Okay.
Other questions or comments from the board? If there aren't any other questions, do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the FERPA exemption statement?
Yeah, this is Angie. I move to approve with that addition.
Kathy, a second. Why do I keep turning off my
All
camera?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Proposal 9, including remote access requests UT 6, educational experiences and influences of Burmese ELL students, Texas public schools. We have a researcher here to talk about this one.
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. My name is K3 Ma. I'm a second year PhD student in economics at Syracuse University. I'm joined here with my advisor, Professor Maria Zhu. And my research proposal focuses on the educational experiences and peer influences of a specific subgroup of English language learners, students from Burma or Myanmar in Texas K-12 public schools. So for some motivation, Texas has resettled the most Burmese refugees than any other state, and their youth make up a substantial share of the ELL student population in Texas. In fact, in 2018, Burmese was the 6th most common primary language among ELLs in Texas public schools. And despite their growing presence, Burmese students face unique educational challenges that are often overlooked in broader discussions of ELL, immigrant, and refugee education. And so in particular, I want to look at the questions of what are the characteristics of Burmese students in Texas? Is the academic achievement of students affected by the presence of Burmese students? What is the peer effect on Burmese students as well as on their classmates? and how does sharing a home language with their classmates have an effect on academic achievement. And access to Texas ERC data is necessary for me to explore these research questions. Most administrative data do not record smaller Asian ethnicities, so the ability to have rich data on particularly the Burmese American population in Texas is very valuable. And I believe that the findings from this research will benefit Texas education policy by assessing whether lesser known ELL groups need more targeted instruction and support beyond existing programs that are more catered to Spanish speakers. And it'll also provide insight on how to improve classroom integration for students from lesser known language groups or refugee backgrounds. And so overall, I believe that this project will provide important implications for schools and policymakers in Texas by taking a deeper look into the ELL student population in Texas K through 12 schools through a specific lens of the Burmese language group. We can be more informed about policy decisions on some of the most vulnerable student populations. With access to the ERC data, my study would be one of the first to provide findings on the educational experiences of Burmese ELLs.
Can I see me?
Yeah. Yes, and their peer influences. So thank you so much for listening to my proposal, and I look forward to your feedback and questions.
Thank you. Do we have questions or comments from the board for the researcher? No questions. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Rayan. I move to approve.
This is Jackie. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being here today.
Thanks.
And including remote access requests UTD 227, post-secondary education and employment outcomes of students with disabilities. Want to talk about this project?
Yes, hi everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So hi, my name is Ahana Samat, and I am a second year PhD student at UT Dallas in the public policy program. Thank you so much for your time and for having me here today. Also on this project is Dr. Trey Miller, who is the director of the Texas Schools Project and associate professor of economics here at UTD. This project, as you can see, is titled Post-Secondary Education and Employment Outcomes of Students with Disabilities. Since 2014, Texas has seen a steady rise in higher education completion among students with disabilities. It's second only to California. However, research on the characteristics of those enrolled in 2- and 4-year institutions remains limited, particularly by disability type. For instance, students with cognitive disabilities may have vastly different needs, both academic and non-academic, in a college setting compared to those with ambulatory disabilities. Using descriptive and regression analyses, this study aims to understand the heterogeneity among students with disabilities and identify places for targeted support. For instance, how does choice of major, persistence in college, and course outcomes vary by disability type? Can we identify types of courses in which students with particular disabilities may need more targeted support? And in the long term, to what extent are labor force outcomes, earnings, and employment for students influenced by their choice of major and disability type? For this project, we are requesting data for 2 years from the TEA, the THECB, the TWC, and the NSC. Given the large number of students with disabilities in Texas and the increasing rate at which they are enrolling in higher education, the ERC data is invaluable in analyzing disparities across disability type and field of study. We believe that this research can benefit policymakers in 2 and 4-year institutions in Texas in 2 ways. First, through improving transitional support from K through 12 into college, and also advising in 2 and 4-year institutions by understanding the patterns by major choice labor force outcomes and also disability type. And secondly, data analysis on types of courses and performance by disability type can help target support early on, improving persistence not only in the course in question, but also in post-secondary education as a whole for students with disabilities. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board, researcher?
This is Celeste. I wondered if you needed some more data on special ed. I didn't know if you wanted that in K-12.
Yes, I would love to request that in K through 12. It was my understanding that the TEA PEAMS special education included that, but I'm happy to add another file if I missed it. Thank you.
Well, they have now they've separated it out into like services and programs and actual disability, so they're different files now.
Oh, that would be great to add it in then.
Sorry, Celeste, what are, just so I know, what are the names of those files that you're alluding to?
Well, I've had computer problems, sorry. There's it's P sped and then it's SVCS, that's services _ student. Then there's one for program, and it's the same thing, P sped PROG, I think it is, and then there's disability one too, like a DISA or something. Those are the ones that are newer, and they're pretty specific, which is nice.
Okay.
And in higher ed, the 001, I think, has just a disabled variable.
Thank you. So it's the PSPED files to add, correct, for the TEA data?
There's 4, I think.
Okay.
And the special ed files. So I think that's how we can
Thank you so much.
add all of the P special ed files.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you want the older one plus the 3 new ones too. Yeah.
Okay.
Are there questions or comments for the researcher? And if there are no other questions, do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the request for all P special ed files?
This is Holly. I motion to approve with the addition of the special education data files.
I'll second Celeste.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Proposal 11, including remote access requests, UTA 262. Intra-class correlation values for planning cluster randomized trials for English learners. We have researcher here to talk about this one.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for considering this proposal. My name is Angela Johnson. I'm a senior researcher at the American Institutes for Research, or AIR. The goal of this study is to estimate empirical benchmarks to help researchers plan future studies, such as randomized control trials or quasi-experimental studies that include students who are classified as English learners. So many programs and interventions are implemented at the school or district level. And when researchers are studying these programs and estimating these impacts of the programs, they have to consider how similar the students are within a school or within a district when they are calculating sample sizes when they're planning these studies. And right now, the empirical benchmarks that are available to researchers were based on only the general student population. And these benchmarks may or may not be appropriate for studies that focus on or include English learners. So this project would estimate interclass correlation and R-squared values specifically for English learners. And we would make available Texas-specific benchmarks so that researchers conducting research in Texas can use benchmarks that are appropriate for English learners in Texas. And the data that we are requesting are students' demographic information, their ELA and math test scores for grades 3 through 8, and their TELPAS English language proficiency test scores for grades K through 12. We could answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you. Other questions or comments from the board?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the examples that you provide in your proposal. That was really helpful in helping us understand how your research could be used by a school district or, by a school official to inform their work. So thank you for that. I wanted to know a little bit more about, I wrote it down somewhere. The power analysis tool that AIR is developing, because that seems like a really critical tool based on your research that the state could use, TA, coordinating board, researchers. Could you tell us a little bit more about, describe that tool and how it could be used to determine sample size, depending on, the level at which randomization took place? I'm just curious.
Yeah, actually that tool is being developed by one of my co-authors who is going to be on this research team. I am not directly involved with that project, but I'm happy to follow up with him and provide you with some information via email, or maybe we can set up a separate meeting. My understanding is that now researchers who are calculating sample sizes use like an Excel spreadsheet that's set up. There's like power up or optimal design, right? Like we can feed in some parameters in the software, or the Excel platform would help us calculate sample sizes for us. But this new tool that's being designed is going to be more user-friendly. We don't really have to stare at a spreadsheet in order to do that.
And that tool will be public facing, so anyone can use it?
That's right, yeah.
And so this research would feed information into that tool, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like a really neat tool that could really improve the research, that evaluates different kinds of interventions. So I appreciate that effort.
Thank you.
I just wanted to confirm you're requesting TA data from 22-23 to most recent?
Yes, that's right.
Any other questions or comments of the researcher? Not, do I have a motion to approve?
This is Kathy. I move to approve.
This is Megan. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Proposal 12, including remote access requests UTA 263 to core subjects matter, exploring student outcomes for those taking math and science dual credit courses. We have a researcher here to talk about this one.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Jungmin Lee. I'm associate professor at the University of Kentucky. And this proposal was submitted with my colleague Wesley Edwards, who's on this call as well, and he's assistant professor at the University of North Texas. Thank you so much for your time and this opportunity. So we start this study because we are interested in the relationship between taking dual credit courses and student outcomes. And most of the previous studies on dual credit find that dual credit leads to positive student outcomes, but most of them usually focus on whether or not students take any dual credit courses without considering the course subjects. We'd like to fill the gap in the literature by looking specifically at student participation in math and science dual credit courses and by exploring its associated outcomes. In this study, we plan to ask 3 research questions. So the first question is pretty much descriptive. We ask, to what extent do high school students in Texas take college-level math and science courses, including dual credit, AP, and IB courses? The second and third questions ask relationship questions. So the second question asks, what's the relationship between taking dual credit math and science courses and student outcomes, including high school graduation, college attendance, persistence, readiness, such as developmental course taking, major choice, and degree attainment? The third question asks pretty much the same thing, but this time we are interested in if the relationship is varied by student demographics, family income, and prior academic achievement. We believe our study will inform policy and practice in educational policy in Texas. Our results can be used to examine the current state of student participation in college-level courses taking and to identify potential gaps across student subgroups. Our result could also show whether dual credit has a long-term effect, especially on the degree attainment in STEM fields. We hope that this study can answer whether or not dual credit can address the attrition issue in the STEM pipeline. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board, the researcher? Questions or comments? Do I have a motion to approve?
I motion to approve Eugene.
This is Rayan. I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks for being.
Thank you.
Proposal 13, including remote access requests, UTA 264, understanding dual credit programs in Texas. Researcher. Oh, hi.
Hi, everyone. Great to be with you all. Thank you for having us. I'm Harrison Hopp, Director of Research at E3 Alliance, and I, alongside my teammates at UTSA and Texas Tech, have submitted the Understanding Dual Credit Programs in Texas research proposal. Our proposal builds on the wealth of research around dual credit courses' connection to positive high school graduation outcomes, and we're looking to extend that research in order to better understand what specifically that impact is, as well as looking at students' dual credit course taking patterns and motivations, how dual credit access and utilization varies across student groups and geographic areas, and how all of this has shifted over time while accounting for policy changes. And the ERC data sets will enable us to conduct that rigorous research to evaluate trends and connections that hopefully will provide critical insights to help policymakers, practitioners expand access to dual credit programs equitably and improve student pathways to higher education and career success. So thank you for your time and consideration. And yeah, I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the board?
Yes, regarding TWC data, you specified you wanted industry code, earnings, and individual information. I'm just not sure what you meant by that last part. If you just wanted individual wage records, we have that, but we don't actually have a lot of like specific personal or demographic information in the wage data.
I'm just trying to look it up here. So, what was the sorry, one more time, what was the specific part of that wage data?
For wage data, you said you wanted industry code, earnings, and individual information. And I just don't know what you meant by individual information.
It's on your data table on page 20.
Oh, got you. Yes. Okay, I see it here now. Yeah, I think we were just referring to the student information that would be able to be attached to our other student data sets so that we would be able to connect them so we understand, oh, this student, went to this high school or took these courses, and now we are able to also see this student's industry records.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you didn't think there was more in the wage data than there was.
Oh, yeah. No, got you.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments? There aren't any. Do I have a motion to approve?
Yeah, this is Angie. I'll move to approve.
This is Megan. Oh, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And
Opposed?
Melissa, I have to hop off now. Sorry, my internet is still very wobbly.
Great,
So I'm going to
thank
try to
you.
reboot. Thank you.
Motion passes. Won't officially say that. Total 14. Including remote access requests UTA 265, understanding students' pursuits and attainment of STEM degrees.
Hi there. My name is Ian Thacker. I'm going to be talking about this proposed project that's funded by the Spencer Foundation and is in collaboration with Dr. Han Bum Lee, Dr. Joe Simpian, and PhD student Eugene Kwan, most of whom are on the call today. Thank you so much for having us here today. So I'm an assistant professor of educational psychology at UT San Antonio, and I'm a former math and physics teacher, and I study various questions related to STEM education. So it's no surprise this project is also about STEM education. The problem we aim to address is the accelerating economic need for skilled engineers and scientists in math-intensive STEM domains. 21st century jobs involve expertise in disciplines like physics, engineering, computer science, machine learning, data science, AI. And despite this need, there are groups of students who might be really good candidates for these high demand STEM jobs that simply don't select STEM majors when they're in secondary school. So we want to identify untapped pools of students and factors that increase their chances of pursuing, persisting in, and attaining STEM degrees. We have a list of research questions in our proposal, but to give you a quick summary, the predictors we want to look at are secondary and post-secondary courses that students enroll in, student achievement levels in those courses and in their STAR scores, student demographic characteristics and school level predictors, and the outcomes of interest are STEM major selection, whether or not students switch from STEM majors to other majors or from other majors to STEM majors, and STEM degree attainment and employment in STEM fields ultimately. We also want to investigate whether students' academic trajectories into STEM fields have evolved over the past 2 decades. And ultimately, this work will help us identify students who might be good candidates for high demand STEM careers and identify specific courses or school factors that might shift their career paths into STEM. And identifying these factors might contribute to new directions in research, policy, practice, and ultimately could support the Texas economy. So I'm going to stop there. Thank you again for your time, and I welcome any questions or comments from the board.
Thank you. anything from the board, from the researcher?
Yes, I also noticed the FERPA statement seemed to be missing from this proposal too. I did see a note that findings would be FERPA compliant, but it didn't explain if it fit the study, audit, or evaluation requirement.
Oh, thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, we would be happy to include that.
Good catch. We can add that quickly and get it back.
Questions or comments? If not, do I have a motion to approve with the amendment to add the FERPA exemption statement?
This is Rayan. I move to approve.
Kathy, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. For being here. Okay, proposal 15, including remote access requests, UTA 266. Do higher order thinking skills predict upward mobility? Someone to talk about this one.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for your time today. I am John Wong, a PhD student over at the University of Virginia. I'm here with my collaborators, Jim Solon, as well as Beth Schuler, both whom are at the University of Virginia as well. So as our sort of title implies, do high order thinking skills predict upward mobility? This is our sort of like core interest for the proposed Texas data. In particular, our proposed project tackles what we believe to be a key educational priority, which is measuring and studying students' development of high order thinking skills at scale, which these skills encompass things like critical thinking or problem solving, and they have been seen as increasingly important for college, career, and life success. Unfortunately, it is difficult to actually assess students' skills for higher order thinking skills, preventing us from being able to direct policy or answer key questions for these skills. And so our proposed research overcomes this challenge by developing a new approach to measuring high order thinking skills using pre-existing test item level student performance data that we are requesting for Texas. In particular, we will pair this performance data with a sort of novel coding of all of Texas's star items, flagging items that are capturing high order thinking skills, as well as items that are not capturing high order thinking skills or lower order thinking skills. And our research will generate validity evidence for this approach, and as well as leverage these measures to predict long-term outcomes like educational attainment, earnings, and along with requested supplemental L2 data, civic participation, as well as compare whether high order thinking skills are more or less beneficial compared to other skills like social emotional learning. In addition to that, we will intend to describe how Texas itself is doing on promoting students' high order thinking skills over time between various student groups, schools, and districts. And ultimately, we believe that this proposal will help Texas by developing a potential measure for the state's use to study high order thinking skills, which if you don't have a way to capture it, it's hard to actually design interventions to promote these skills. In addition, it will help provide policymakers with ways to better target their efforts to promote these higher order thinking skills. So with that all being said, thank you all so much for your time and look forward to any questions or comments that you all have.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments from the board for the researchers?
I had just one question on the check-ins with TEA every 6 months. I'm just wondering who you're checking in with.
Yes, thank you for that. I think our intention was to be proactive in our communication. We don't have a specific person in mind whom we would check in with. If there's a person that is interested in this work, we're happy to provide those check-ins, but ultimately we just wanted to make sure that we are maintaining open communication with whatever you all need.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Thoughts from the board? Nothing else. Do I have a motion to approve?
This is Holly. I motion to approve.
This is Angie, I'll second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you all so much.
Oh, that brings us to the end. Thank you all for being here today. Thanks to all the researchers and the board, the good engagement. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I moved to adjourn, Celeste.
I strongly second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you.